Recruitment is a process that begins when a manager needs to fill a job and continues until that job is filled. Let's take a look at the purpose of recruitment. The term recruitment refers to the activities companies engage in to identify potential employees, communicate job and organizational attributes to potential hires, and convince qualified individuals to apply for existing openings within the organization. When an individual is qualified, he or she has the knowledge, skills, and abilities known as KSAs, the job competencies, in other words, to do the job and to help the organization achieve its goals. Think for a minute about what would happen if you had an employee quit and it took several months to find a replacement. The importance of aligning a firm's recruitment to its organizational goals cannot be overstated. When a company and its managers recruit well, the rest of the firm's employees' management activities will require less time and effort saved equals money saved. Thus, talent acquisition is a critical part of talent management. Too often, managers have an opening and immediately pull together a recruitment advertisement to send off to a local newspaper or to post on the internet. They do this without giving much thought to what they are doing or why they're doing it. Having an opening and filling it seems to be the mentality. Managers are often under pressure to fill job vacancies as quickly as possible. They generally do not want to overwork other employees who are performing necessary tasks, and they do not want to let critical work slow down or be left undone, so they want to get recruiting done as soon as possible. The same managers would never consider spending a large sum of the organization's money for new equipment without careful planning. Shouldn't they spend just as much time and effort planning for employee recruitment as they do as purchasing the right equipment? Actually, recruitment probably deserves more time and attention. After all, employees hired today will be employees making decisions tomorrow about how the company will spend its money. Of course, many managers do understand that spending some time developing a recruiting strategy will save them time and money later. The first step in a successful recruitment plan is to decide on the objective for the recruiting process. Is the objective to simply generate a few candidates or applicants and make a quick hiring decision? Or is the objective simply to recruit a large number of applicants and hope some are qualified to fill openings? Knowing the best sources for recruitment and carefully crafting a recruitment message is part of a solid plan. The job description includes job specifications, which are a detailed account of the specific competencies employees must possess to be successful in the job. You can prepare a job description yourself or use one prepared by the organization. Either way, having a good grasp of the position's job duties and requirements is essential. Even if the hiring manager has someone else prepare the ad copy, he or she has to give the preparer the information to include. This information, coupled with knowledge of the firm's goals and values, lays the foundation for the recruitment plan. When you understand the required competencies, how do you recruit employees who will have them? As a hiring manager, you need to be in the best position to know what type of employee will fit the job and the organization. Therefore, you need to be able to make strategic decisions during each step of the recruitment process. One of these strategic decisions relates to where you'll look to find employees. A successful organization recognizes that it's important to recruit both internally, within the organization, and externally, outside of the organization. Internal recruitment is when the business looks to fill the vacancy from within its existing workforce. Here are some guidelines for successful internal recruiting. Develop and communicate job pathways for promotions and lateral moves within the company. Develop a process for job posting that's accessible to all employees. Ensure that job advertisements clearly communicate job requirements and expectations. Use employee records to identify potential candidates for open positions. Follow up with all internal applicants and treat internal applicants with the same level of care that you treat external candidates. Now, let's take a look at some of the ways organizations and managers inform employees about current job openings. As a manager, you need to be familiar with these methods so you can decide how to conduct internal recruiting. Perhaps the simplest way internal applicants are recruited is through word of mouth. A manager has a job opening and talks to other managers or employees to find out about possible internal candidates. This technique is not always the most effective. More formal techniques will ensure that managers are identifying the most qualified candidates. Formal techniques also ensure that employees have an equal opportunity to find out about openings and apply for them. A job posting system is the most frequently used approach to notify current employees about job openings. This approach can be as informal as posting a note on the cafeteria bulletin board or as formal as having job announcements listed in the company newsletter and posted on the company intranet. The goal of a job posting is straightforward: to get the word of a job opening out to as many employees as possible within the organization. Companies that use a human resource information system known as HRIS or HMS have an added way to identify internal candidates for job openings. These companies create a searchable database referred to as an employee inventory that can be used to identify employees who meet certain job requirements. Employees who match the posted criteria can be automatically notified about the opening, and managers can receive lists of names of qualified applicants. Let's explore the advantages and disadvantages of internal recruitment. Organizations realize that there are tangible and intangible advantages to recruiting internally. Internal recruitment can be more cost-effective than running ads or engaging in external recruiting. Existing employees are already familiar with the company's operations, which cuts down on the time and money it takes to train them. In addition, current employees like being given opportunities for advancement. Employees want to know that their employer recognizes their value to the organization. When employees are given opportunities for jobs they want, for example through promotions, they are more likely to be committed to the company, more loyal, and more productive. And, as we have mentioned, a firm's hiring managers also have access to applicants' performance appraisals and can talk to the employees' supervisors. Sometimes organizations need new ideas or want to change their corporate culture, or they need to increase the diversity of their workforce. These companies know that the best way to reduce inbreeding and to increase diversity is to bring in new employees rather than promote current employees who are already entrenched in the company's way of doing things, especially where there's little diversity in terms of demographic or personality attributes in the existing workforce. Bringing in new blood or new employees does not come without a cost, however. Managers need to be aware that employees who apply for openings and aren't selected may become disgruntled, less productive, or leave the organization. Of course, promoting or transferring employees internally creates a new vacancy elsewhere in the organization. Consequently, when companies recruit internally, they need to look externally to build their workforces at some point. When we think about external recruiting, we often think about advertisements, job fairs, and the internet. Choosing an external recruitment source is often dictated by several factors, including the nature and location of the job. In general, two factors have the greatest impact on where recruiting should take place. Let's take a look. First, the skill level of the job. The higher the skill level, the harder it may be to find qualified candidates. The second factor is related to the first. The harder it is to find qualified candidates, the broader the geographic area in which you must search. The two factors together, skill level of the job and geographic location, are used to identify the relevant labor market for the recruitment campaign. The relevant labor market is the location in which one can reasonably expect to find a sufficient supply of qualified applicants. Employers, especially large organizations, now use the internet more than they use newspapers to post jobs. However, in smaller towns and for smaller organizations, the local newspaper can still be an important place for job advertisements. If the job requires high competency levels, is unique, or requires an in-demand skill set, large employers might advertise in regional, state, or national papers. The downsides to the newspaper is advertising expense. In 2016, the cost of advertising with the Washington Post print edition ranged from $32.10 per line for a minimum of 3 lines, single column ads to run in the Sunday paper, plus 7 days on WashingtonPost.com, to $39,000 for a full-paged color display running one time. Compare those one-time costs to the average $250 charge for a job advertisement to run for 35 days online in the Post. The online ad package includes a job listing, the employer's logo, and access to a resume database. Over the past 10 years, the number of job boards for online postings has increased. Furthermore, log on to most company websites and you'll find a careers or job opportunities link there as well. A typical company recruiting website will include a drop-down menu for career paths and another for location, or some variation of these menus that make it easy for the applicant to narrow the list of information about job openings. The design and content of these employer websites is important to applicants, as is making the site mobile optimized. Job seekers using online websites tend to pay attention to information with hyperlinks that include more text than graphic images or navigation tools. Companies often include short videos of interns, employees talking about their work at the organization, or even employees discussing their outside interest as part of their career websites. In addition to paying to advertise on job bulletin boards and their own websites, organizations use online job posting service bulletin boards at colleges and universities such as CareerOneStopShop.org, a U.S. Department of Labor-supported website, or usjobs.gov, the federal government's official job list. These publicly available online sites help employers provide job opening information to large groups of potential applicants in a timely manner. Professional organizations typically have their own job search websites as well. Members can post jobs for their companies and view and apply for jobs at other members' organizations. A company should not, however, just advertise online. Recruiting for certain jobs on the internet might be less effective than recruiting through other sources. The internet makes it easy for individuals, qualified or not, to apply for jobs, which increases the cost in terms of personnel time to review applications. Career fairs or job fairs provide an opportunity for employers to interact with a large number of potential applicants at one time. Typically, employers set up booths where potential applicants can stop by, talk to recruiters, drop off resumes, and pick up information about the company. The recruiters have the opportunity to talk with applicants and begin to gauge their fit with the company and job. A newer approach to the job fair concept is the use of online resources to hold virtual career fairs. The company might have a small HR department with limited time to conduct recruitment activities. The organization might decide that using a search firm specializing in a particular profession will provide access to more qualified applicants and reduce the time spent in internal screening, thus making the search more efficient and productive. Several types of employment agencies and search firms exist: public agencies, private agencies, and executive search firms. Public employment agencies are affiliated with the U.S. Department of Labor and assist job seekers with career services and placement, and employers with finding applicants. These services are free. Private employment agencies provide job search assistance for a fee paid either by the company or the individual. Contingency recruiting agencies get paid a flat fee or percentage of a new hire's first-year salary by the employer when the search is successful. With a retained agency, also an executive search firm or headhunter, the employer pays a retainer for an agency to conduct a search with a fee paid out at the conclusion of predetermined steps. Searches are usually for high-level executives. On-demand recruiting services gets paid based on the time spent rather than the amount per hire. Recruitment process outsourcing, or RPOs, where employer contracts with RPOs for at least 4 years to deliver specified recruitment functions for a base monthly fee determined by the number of searches and related services provided. Most professions have one or more organizations or associations that individuals and professionals can join. These organizations provide a variety of services to members, such as access to resources about the profession, opportunities to network with others in the same field, information about job openings, and accesses to specialized searches. A placement service is often a feature at annual meetings, providing an opportunity for members to interview for jobs. Employee referral is an internal recruitment method employed by organizations to identify potential candidates from their existing employees' social networks. This trend seems to have grown in recent years, in part as a pushback to the sheer volume of applications received through job boards and the need to be more efficient in hiring talent. Some firms even set goals for the proportion of hires desired from internal referral, and some companies provide prizes and cash incentives to employees who make referrals that result in new hires. Often, the incentive is given once the firm is sure that a good hire has been made. Research has shown that recruiting programs such as these are among the most effective ways to recruit employees. Moreover, employees hired as a result of referrals tend to have lower turnover and experience greater job satisfaction than employees recruited through more formal approaches. A study by researchers at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York reported that candidates referred by current employees of companies were twice as likely to get an interview and 40% more likely to be hired. This practice works because employees tend to refer people they already know and whom they think will be a good fit with the company and able to do the job. Referral programs also have the benefit of tapping people who might not be formally looking for a job, but who are friends or acquaintances with a current employee who has encouraged them to explore the opportunity. This practice is not without its problems, however. The Federal Reserve Bank study noted earlier found that 71% of employee recommendations were of the same race or ethnicity and 63% of the same gender. This data suggests that relying largely on employee referrals is likely to limit diversity in the organization. A recruitment value proposition helps potential applicants differentiate what one company offers to its employees versus what other organizations do. The recruitment value proposition conveyed to potential employees includes information about job duties, an associated working environment, total rewards offered by the organization, and the company's corporate image. Unlike traditional recruitment communications, a value proposition lets prospective employees know what they will experience when working for the company. The experience can include everything from the level of compensation and the type of leadership development opportunities the position affords to the nature of the work environment. The critical component is to know what your target audience is looking for and let the potential employees know what the company can offer relative to that. The value proposition is different for each organization. It helps a potential applicant understand what day-to-day life in the firm would look like and compare jobs across companies. A well-designed value proposition and accompanying brand can help a potential applicant decide whether there is likely to be a good person-organization fit. Once a company has specified its value proposition, it can then turn its attention to developing a brand to embody that proposition and help the company become more of an employer of choice. Employer branding involves developing a long-term strategy to manage how a firm's stakeholders, including its current and future employees, perceive the company. Like product branding, employer branding is about creating a connection, in this case between the potential applicant, either external or internal, and the employer, rather than a customer of a product. Such a message is referred to as a realistic job preview. A realistic job preview is a message that provides positive information about the job and the organization, as well as information that is likely to be less favorable to some potential applicants. One outcome of providing a realistic job preview is that individuals will screen themselves out of the application process when they realize that some aspects of the job or aspects of the organization are not attractive to them. This outcome seems even more likely to occur when that information is presented by an interviewer rather than in written form. Applicants who accept jobs with a company after being provided with a realistic job preview are more likely to have an accurate expectation, which may be lower expectations, and are more likely to stay with the company longer. A judge in Texas ruled in favor of two diving students who were able to successfully argue that they had been recruited under false pretenses. The divers were enticed to work for a Texas offshore oil company by being told that they would get plenty of diving work and get in the water immediately. Instead, the two were given land jobs. The judge ordered the payment of damages to them because there was enough evidence to indicate that the promise made were not true. The number of lawsuits over lack of truth in hiring is increasing. This increase results primarily from two issues: efforts on the part of employers to aggressively attract employees in a tight labor market, and employees who are terminated and now seek recourse against their former employers. Guidance for preventing truth in hiring lawsuits include the following. Don't exaggerate information about the organization or the job. Be honest and give the candidate a realistic job preview. Include disclaimer language in the job offer letter and make it clear that conditions addressed in the letter represent only company expectations. Finally, make sure the job offer letter includes a statement that the offer is contingent upon a clean background check. Moreover, include employment at will language in the offer letter. Spell out any contingencies in the offer letter and specify compensation and benefits information on a pay period basis rather than on an annual basis to avoid implying that the job is guaranteed for a year. Do not state amounts anticipated for commissions or variable pay. Often these truth in hiring lawsuits, which are tort claims, occur when a job candidate has been lured away from an existing, high-paying job by promises of great opportunities at the new firm that fail to come through. HR metrics quantify the impact and measure the success of human resource management programs and processes. Here are some examples of some of the metrics used to measure a firm's recruitment success. We'll take a closer look at some of the metrics that companies typically track, including yield ratios, cost per hire, time to fill, and manager's feedback. Cost per hire includes total recruiting costs, advertising, travel, office rent, equipment, staff salaries, search firm fees, background checks, and more divided by the number of new hires. The focus is on recruiting expense. The staffing efficiency ratio takes into account the firm's total recruiting costs divided by the total starting compensation of new hires. More precise than cost per hire because it accounts for the different pay levels of new employees. The time to fill ratio is the average number of days from the day a manager requests a job to be filled to the day the candidate accepts the offer, or the average number of days from the requisition to the time the employee starts work. This measures how quickly jobs are filled. The quality of hire gauges performance of the employee and is a way to measure employee contribution to the company. Typically, the performance review process will provide this data with assessment done after the person starts the job. Hiring manager satisfaction. A hiring manager's satisfaction with the performance of a firm's recruiters and his or her new employees can give data and insight into the performance and metrics of recruitment. First-year turnover is the number of employees who leave a firm divided by the firm's total number of employees in a year. It's a rough indicator of the quality of the firm's new hires and can be a gauge for each recruiter. Referral rates captures information about where applicants learned about the job and which sources result in the highest quality hires. Yield ratios provide a metric of the effectiveness of different recruitment sources. A yield ratio measures the outcome of using a specific recruiting source compared to the number of applicants generated by the source.